Hey everyone, welcome to Above Board with CandorPath. Today we are exceptionally excited because we have Mr. Casey Jacox with us. He is a sales and leadership coach. He's the author of the book Win the Relationship, Not the Deal, and the creator and host of the Quarterback DadCast. And Casey, before we let you talk, we're going to do some talking. But what I wanted to say is I love, with your show, I just love the human side of being a dad. It's hard. And you expose, the wins and losses along the way and the fact that we're all just imperfect parents trying to be better. And I think your show just does such a great job at encapsulating that. We are missing the Rich B with us today, but we also have our co-host Matthew Marcoux with us. Matt, say hello to the lovely folks.
Hello there. Don't forget the Rich B or memento to the Rich B on the Instagram. Got to give a shout out to our boy Richie Rich, who's I think traveling today and not going to be able to make it on today's show, but you'll probably see him on the next one here. We always miss him. We love him. But welcome to the show, Casey. I'm super happy to have you. I love your story, your message. I think it really kind of jives with what we do here on Above Board with CandorPath. We're entrepreneurs. We're parents. We love fitness. And so like all these things we kind of talk about on our show and sort of try to interweave these things. And as I was listening to your show and prepping for today, your story, your message really kind of jives with what it is we talk about here, because no one wants to hear John and I talk about being a certified financial planner. Although the last episode was about that. Most part, no one wants to talk about finance. They want to talk about who we are as people, what our life experiences are. And we love sharing that through this amazing technology and podcasting. And so welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you here today.
I appreciate it. It's an honor. And it's funny, the power of the wide world webs brings people together. And shout out to our boy, Mr. Patrick Surmeyer, for making this connection happen. But it's nice to be here.
Now, you couldn't be any further away from us in the continent of the United States, correct? You're in the upper Northwest. We are in the lower Southeast. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's Southeast Alaska. Some people call it Seattle. So,
okay. Got it. So, to your point, we happen to be, again, as far apart as we possibly can. Yet again, we're here today chatting and talking, and I'm super excited. I wanted to lead off with the first question. I know it's something you typically ask on your show a lot to your guests, and so I figured I would turn the tables on you. But tell me, what are you most grateful for about being a parent today? I know that's a popular one, but I'd love to hear your take on that.
No, thank you. I love asking that question every time because it makes me stay grounded and remind myself what's really important. And, we all have good days and bad days. We're all flawed human beings, but how do you kind of stay level? And I think sometimes having that self-awareness, so I'm grateful for self-awareness when I'm not my best version of me. How do I get back on track? But I'm also grateful for my kids still like to hang out with me. I have a 15-year-old and 13-year-old, and last night I made them. They fought a little bit, but we watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is just nice. A beauty of all beauties.
Yeah.
And my daughter almost fell asleep. She had a basketball tournament this weekend, so she was smoked. And my son, I think now they're getting older, and their sarcasm starting to really come into like their next level sarcasm. So watching them, there's so many one-liners in that movie that are just.
I was going to say nothing helps groom that 80s comedy movies.
Yeah,
so,
it's a John Hughes flick, right? Or any John, any 80s movies basically has his fingerprint on it, but sarcastic, funny, yeah, great flick.
Yeah. And so my daughter, she's like, "What is this, Stripes, Dad?" No, it's not Stripes, but that's another great movie. But so luckily she liked it. So I'm grateful for that time I had with them last night.
That's awesome, man. That's too funny. How do you, as Matt mentioned before too, we digest on this show challenges, struggles that we go through being parents and entrepreneurs, and business owners. I'm curious from your point of view, how do you manage that role? Because so much of your show that you talk about is just really trying to be the best dad you can be. But there's a lot of different things happening at us at any given time in life. How do you find that you're managing those roles of being a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a parent?
I think I'd have an amazing wife or partner. I think that definitely helps keep me grounded. And I do, I found myself doing journaling every day, which I didn't do maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. I really picked that up during the kind of height of the pandemic. So just starting with daily gratitude. I sometimes, if I find myself not a little off kilter for whatever reason, I have a 4-minute meditation I do. called the Ha method, which is, I can share that a little bit more about that. And then I really embrace I was called a 1440 mindset, meaning that we all have 1,440 minutes a day. No one gets more, no one gets less. And so I always tell myself, if it's going to be a bad day, or I'm having a bad day, or things hit me that make it a bad day, tell myself through self-talk that the best part about this is it's going to end. And then tomorrow I got a chance to make it better tomorrow. And so it might sound corny or naive to people, but for me, I'd rather be corny, naive, and optimistic than, a negative realist so.
Yeah.
Well, it's awesome that you share that though, because I think the last like 2 or 3 episodes, Matt, we've talked about the 5-minute journal, which I've been sort of telling people my story with this, because I've never journaled in my life. And Matt's like, okay, dude, you got to get this book and just give it a shot. And there are days where I'm grumpy and I don't want to do it. And I even just write down a couple words. But I do find that taking that moment to focus on something that you're grateful for. I mean, it could be as simple as like, I had a really good cup of coffee this morning and I'm grateful for that. It can help change that perspective.
Yeah, I think the other thing you mentioned was having a strong partner, which not everyone obviously gets to have a strong partner. 2 nights ago, I came unglued on my 8-year-old. He was messing around in the bathroom, brushing his teeth with the 5-year-old.
Wait a minute, I was at your house 2 nights ago.
All right, 3 nights ago, whatever it was. I came unglued on him, and I, it was a rough day at work or whatever. I was just in a bad mindset, and I just launched into the kid, and for a very little reason. And I come out of that room huffing and puffing, and my wife said, whisper to me, because we obviously want to have a united front in front of them. She's like, you were in the wrong there. Like, you came unglued for no reason at all. And at that moment, I stopped and was like, I did. I absolutely did. I walked in there. I apologized to him, said I'm sorry. It changed it made me have a better evening. I hated that it came to that. But without that partner, sometimes to be like, hey, you're screwing up right now and you need to fix this. I would have just been mad the rest of the night. He would have been mad the rest of the night. We would have gone to our own corners. And I was like, you know what? I need to show him we all make mistakes. And these kids are not come with manuals, right? It's a free for all sometimes. And to have that partner behind you to say, listen, you need to go fix that right now because you were the worst. You were the person that was wrong here. I just, my wife is tremendous when it comes to that.
Well, shout out to you for knowing the power of apologizing. I mean, so many dads, like I've talked about that a million times in my podcast, is the power of teaching your kids is it's okay to say, I'm sorry. And that it's not a sign of weakness, but it's a sign of strength, that knowing you could check your ego and say, man, I was not my best version of myself, buddy. So yeah, good job.
Yeah. And my mom happened to be there too at the same time. And so I was a double whammy from both of the ladies that I am close with. My mother and my wife are both from like, what is wrong with, like, you need to go back in there and fix this now. So it was a shout out to my mom as well, who happened to be over and saw that and was like, that's not how I raised you. You're going to go fix this right now too. And I turned around and did it. We all screw up. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have those moments. So I've been listening to the Quarterback DadCast for a while, and there's an episode, I can't remember which one it is, but you might know, where you share a story, Casey, with where your son, you were giving a presentation, like a Zoom presentation to 100 people. And I believe the topic of conversation was basically something to the effect of not losing your cool.
I was doing that. Yeah. Do you want me to take it from here?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
because I think it's a cool story.
I was giving I used to travel quite a bit for my job in corporate. And I remember one of the words in business that drives me nuts the most is value, because it just gets said over and over and over, yet no one really knows what it means. And to me, value is about solving a problem. But instead of like creating that, I was like, how do I make the word value like something meaningful? So I created an acronym, which is if I'm going to be valuable to you guys today, I need to be vulnerable, authentic, level-headed, understanding, empathetic. And so I'm giving this presentation on value to this company. I mean, it's an association. And I remember that day I told my family, my kids, I said, hey guys, Dad's got big Zoom presentation. I need you guys to just like go outside, just, off the internet, just like anything we can do to prevent shenanigans from happening. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we got you, Dad. Well, my son decides to fire up some Egos and forgets them that they're in. And when I'm on L, being level-headed in any sort of relationship or an environment, the fire alarm goes off. And not does it go off for like the normal like 3 or 4 seconds, and then you wave, kind of open the door, you fan it, and it goes off. I'm talking this goes on for maybe 2 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm texting trying to like smile and look like everything's great. I'm texting like WTF, multiple Fs, like what is going on? And then finally I said, you know what? This couldn't have been scripted better, everybody. Like, I'm going to be level-headed right now and prove to you that I can be level-headed. So I'm going to go on mute. If you see smoke billowing behind me, someone call 911. Someone save me. This might be the last you see me, but it's been great. And then like, you know, finally it stopped, but we like laughed about it. My son felt horrible. Like, and I'm like, bro, it was actually the best thing ever. Like, did you mess up? Yes. But did it end up making the presentation better? 100%. And so like, I remember posting about it on LinkedIn and giving him a shout out. And then literally we joked about it. We laughed about it. So, I mean, I think it's, again, back to mindset, how we have control over our attitude. Sometimes we don't think, sometimes we don't. Sometimes I think you get these triggers, but like, I think that we have control over how we choose to respond and how we choose to, if we're not our best version of ourselves, how do we quickly choose to get back on track, which is the someone we want, the person we want to be. And so for me in that moment, it was just I don't know, it couldn't have been scripted better.
Well, I think what I like about you as I'm getting to know you is it's not just one of those things that you say, but you truly practice what you preach. And that was such an opportunity for that. So you had 100 or so people listening in on the Zoom call, seeing this transpire. And in that, you probably gave them the most unscripted lesson as you're going through value and being level-headed. But then what a huge opportunity for your son to see, like, he was probably terrified, like, oh man, dad's going to be so PO to me. And to handle it that way, I mean, just what a good learning lesson for him.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, I mean, I think if I was him, I would have been like, oh my God, he's going to give me the worst wedgie ever. I'm going down, you know?
Nice. Well, go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say, you mentioned, working from home. Work-life balance for us is an area that passion isn't quite the right word for it, but it's something John and I know Rich does as well, are always striving for, especially in this virtual world that we're now living in. We have a physical office that we go to, but a lot of our work takes place at home. And it sometimes is really difficult. And I'm looking at my office door right now, is saying what happens on that side of the door needs to stay on that side of the door, and this side of the door needs to stay. Talk about what you try to do to keep that work-life balance in check as much as possible. And it's one of the things I'm trying to get John to do is, for me, is at the end of the day, the emails are done. 6 p.m. comes, I clock out, even though I'm constantly thinking about our business and what we're trying to do. What are some of the things that you're trying to do to make sure that work doesn't bleed over into the family life, and that you're kind of keeping that division as much as possible?
Well, I think for me, I think my balance all started back when I was in corporate still. So I'll share a story around. So when my son was maybe 15, 16 months old, we'll call it, I was in a pretty high demanding sales job, had one of our larger accounts. I was, doing things I never thought I would do, and life's great. And then, getting to the office by 7, leaving at 6, getting home at 6:45, and my son's going to bed at 7. I'm like, this sucks. And this is not the dad I want to be. And, great, making money, doing these great things, but it didn't matter. And I remember telling my wife, and I'm like, I'm getting to be miserable. Like, I'm not having fun. She's like, well, go talk to your boss. And so shout out to my old boss, Angela Ronica. I went and told her, I said, listen, I love what I'm doing. I love the team. I love the customers. I love making money. It's so fun, but I'm not a good dad right now. Like, I'm not there. And she's like, well, let's figure something out. And so I literally turned my sales job, which is, pretty stressful, into like a banker's hours. Like, I literally left at 4:00 every day, regardless. And, I could still be on the phone on the drive home. Had about a 45-minute drive, still could do stuff. But once I got home from like 5 to 7, shut it down, literally. And I wasn't curing cancer. I wasn't driving a fire engine. I wasn't driving an ambulance. Like, we're all replaceable. No one's that important. We think we are, but we're not. And I literally found myself getting right. Like, my kind of borderline mental health became better because I was present as a father, present as a husband. And then from like 7 to like 8, me and my wife would, hang out, whatever, or right at 7:15, I'd just jump online and get caught up on email, all my documentation, plan for the next day. And it sucked because I had to work a little bit at night, but to me, it was better than missing out the time with the family and not having dinner. And so I think that having that early And I'll say when I did that, you guys, my career took another level. It went like, it really took off. And I think it was because I did have balance. I was present as whatever I was doing. I was thoughtful. I was intentful about the role I was playing, whether it's sales leader, account manager, account executive, dad, husband, whatever it was doing. So now that I'm doing my own thing, this kind of world found me after I wrote my book and started this podcast. This coaching journey I'm on now really did not plan on doing it. Just kind of found me. And so, I just, for me, it's, when I do close doors, they know sometimes they might have to do something at night. I call that the homework part of the job, whether it's prepping for a presentation but for the most part, I shut it down, and I do my best to set expectations with people I'm working with which is I actually dedicate that to a chapter of my book. But I think when people's expectations are set and knowing when they should or should not expect from you, life becomes a lot easier. But when expectations aren't set, that's how I think we get out of balance, because we feel like, oh my God, I have to respond in 3 minutes because they're going to fire me if I don't. Which is ridiculous.
What a massively important lesson to learn at a relatively young age for your kids. So that, because I mean, for me, as Matt talked about, I've even now, I try to put a little friction between myself and my phone. So when we get the kids, from 5 to 8 before bedtime, I put my phone in the other room now. Because and I don't wear my Apple Watch anymore, because I couldn't handle the constant pings. I know you can turn the notifications off, but for me, I had to physically remove it from my wrist. And yet still, we live in this constant world where we feel like people need it now or want it, like they need our answer right away. And so if a client reaches me after hours, I assume that it's a financial emergency, which, if we're being honest, there's really no such thing as a financial emergency. I mean, there's other kinds of emergencies. That's not one of them. But yet for years in my head, I'm like, I got to call this person back. It's 6:30, but I got to do it. Sorry, Jackie, I got to step out and go take a call. And she knows what that means. Like, I'll take a 5-minute call. It's like 40 minutes later. And creating those boundaries can be super uncomfortable at first. Like, I'm curious, how was that just something that just sort of, I'm assuming you had to work at it, but did it come somewhat natural to you, or was it one of those things where you caught yourself slipping? You're like, okay, I gotta focus back up. I'm leaving at 4. Because for me, it's hard. It really is.
It was a pretty black and white, like, rip the Band-Aid off. I'm sure there was days where I a little bit of practice, but for the most part, I was so relieved. Like, okay, because I think I was vulnerable and honest with my boss. Like, hey, I'm our top rep, but I'm not being a good dad. Like, this sucks. And she doesn't want me not happy, Mm-hmm. So I think the story for people out there listening is like, be vulnerable, man. Put yourself out there and open up and be a normal human being. And I think my boss appreciated it. I was a little nervous to tell her, like, I didn't know what she was going to say, but in the end, it was the best thing ever, because then it allowed me to really just go. And even clients, they were like, hey, can you meet at 4? I'm like, no, I can't. I leave every day because I want to spend time with my family and my son and my daughter who's on the way, but whatever. And I can meet tomorrow or the next day, or I can meet earlier. And I think people are like, oh, cool. Like, I think they were relieved, like, versus, I definitely, trust me. Now I'm very competitive. I believe that time kills all deals. But again, if you set expectations properly with a story or with reason, mm-hmm. and stay true to that, I think you'll find that it creates more happiness for yourself and the people around you.
We also have a really unique perspective being financial planners, and we've seen, and we have clients that we've worked with that, worked 60-hour, 80-hour, 100-hour weeks. They built their business, they're successful. And sometimes there's not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? I'm going to do this. I'm gonna hit retirement, and then I'm going to do all these great things. And we don't know when our time and when our number is going to be up. And we've had it on a few instances where a month into retirement or a day into retirement, that person passes away, and all that work, all those years of building something that they're incredibly proud of, yet what sacrifices did they make along the way? And again, it's hard for us to be able to say that to people as they're going through it, but we try to share that our perspective is that there's got to be a balance, right? There's that balance of being competitive and building a business. John and I deal with this every single day, building our company. is we want to build the best financial planning firm we possibly can. Yet at the very same priority is to also be great parents, husbands, and members of society for that matter. So it's a really hard balance to strike at times. But again, our perspective is, man, we've seen it happen both ways, and that's just got to be so frustrating at the end of this. Not that you can look back on it and say like, wow, I wish I would have done more, but we've seen it before, and we try to learn from those particular instances.
Well, and what I was going to say too, I mean, again, Casey, you're the type of coach, inspirational leader that most certainly practices what he preaches. And a couple of weeks ago, you had said something to me that I think was fairly simple but profound at the same time. And it was either I will or I won't. Like you need to remove some of these words from your vocabulary, and I'm going to let you say it in a moment because I think it was great. But I was actually talking in a different context of, I was actually sharing with you some of my goals for next year. And one of those goals is to be a t-ball coach for my daughter. She loves playing baseball. I grew up, that was my sport growing up.
T-ball?
And what's that? T-ball. I actually never graduated from that level. But I, so best I love
T-ball
baseball.
Player in town.
The best t-ball player. I could crush it, just smash all those little 6-year-olds. Yeah. But adult league t-ball. That's perfect.
He's got his skull
but
in
as
his
I was,
back pocket, just a round thing. He's got his bloomers on. I would love to see John play some t-ball.
What a sight to behold it would be. And I'd step up and I'd whiff the first swing.
I think we just seriously started a new business. Like, let's get community t-ball leagues for adults done.
Yes.
Sorry, I digress.
I think that's a fantastic idea. But, as we're saying this, I said, something I really want to do or I feel a calling to do as a dad, because it creates this intentional time with her and I. It means a lot. And you said, well, can we change a word out of your vocabulary? You said, I want to. And it needs to be either I will or I won't. And what's cool about that is I've just that conversation that I had with you, I've since replaced it with not, I want to put my phone in the other room for the next 3 hours while I'm with my family. I need to I will put my phone in the other room. And it sort of changed. I feel like setting your intention of what you're going to do and saying, I will do this, even if it's just a little micro decision in your day, is very impactful. So, free mini coaching session while we're on the podcast. If you wouldn't mind explaining what those words are that we need to remove from our vocabulary and replace it with.
No, I love that. Made my day, man. That helped you. And I also, I believe I said, John, are you open to me giving you some advice? I don't want to coach you. I don't want to tell you this. And you're like, yeah, what? And I said, you just said one of my 5 swear words. And I'm not talking like MF or GD or S or whatever all the big swear words we think we'd be saying. But my 5 swear words are need to, should to, want to, have to, and can't. So I'll say it again. Need to, should to, want to, have to, and can't. In my mind, when I say those words, it creates anxiety. It's a goal with no plan, which turns into a wish, right? Not many pilots say, I need to take off, right? I need to go flying. Well, where? How do we know we're going to land the plane? We're just going to take off and full gas and see what happens, right? And so instead of saying I need to lose weight, I need to start working out, I need to make more calls, just do it. I will get on the phone. I will pound the phone. I will go run for 20 minutes. I will do 100 push-ups a day. And to your point, it's like a psychological mind thing where this also happened when I was back at K-Force and corporate forever. Is when we would do all these quarterly review meetings. Our goal planning, quarterly business reviews. When we got to goals, I was like the psycho that I made people in their PowerPoints. They had to say what they're going to do, but in Will. And then one of my old buddies, Renell, he would make Will capitalized and bold, be a little sarcastic at me, but it was like, I know the point was made and it's amazing that we achieved more by telling ourselves we're going to go do it. And so for me, when I'm working with people and even my mind and even my kids, I say, someone's going to do it. Why not you? Right? Tommy Lasorda, the great baseball manager from the Dodgers. He said, there's 3 types of people in life: people who watch things happen, wonder how things happen, or make things happen. Mm-hmm. It's simple. I know who I want to be. Right? Yeah. I knew I want to be. So yeah, I'm glad it resonated with you. It's really simple. Right. And I think sometimes the best advice we need is right in front of us. We just don't see it because we're caught up in the noise of life. But it's refreshing when you can get someone else who's not in the business. They can help you kind of work on it when you're not in it.
Yeah, I mean, I came home so it was an aha moment for me, and I actually came home that night and basically said that to my wife. I'm like, it's either I will or I won't, going forward. And a part of that too, saying that out loud, is she holds me accountable. She sees
Beautiful,
and she knows that I want to be a better dad, and it's one of those for me. It's like it's being a better business owner, or it's being a better financial planner. Like you can always do something to work towards those goals. But if you just say like, yeah, I want to be a better dad. Okay. What are you going to actually, in my mind, for me, it was like, well, what am I going to actually do? And that's where, in talking with you, I'm like, I want to coach a T-ball team. Especially since I'm the best T-baller in town. I want to be the T-ball coach.
Well, a mentor of mine, a guy named John Kaplan, said, it's okay not to know every answer. It's just not okay not to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay not to know every answer, just not okay not to do anything about it. And so for me, it was like, you want to be better? You want to go coach T-ball? Great. Do you know anything about T-ball? Not really. Okay, well, go learn. I will study YouTube on T-ball. I will sign up today to be the T-ball coach. I will create a positive, and that's where it kind of goes back to this. Maybe I'll full circle back to this 4-minute meditation. I don't do it every day, but I do it when I'm a little off kilter, whatever reason, just like we all get sometimes. And so it's just a minute of breathing. Second minute is I have statements, physical, emotional, or opportunistic. Third minute is I am statements, physical, emotional, or opportunistic. But the last one is I will statements. And so when you speak truth into yourself, that positive self-talk, it's almost like you're giving yourself, oh, okay, I will. I just told myself I'm going to do it, so I'm going to go. And this is one of the, I'm pointing, people can't see it at home, but like the mind is one of the most untapped resources that we just don't spend enough time focusing on or using, or like our thoughts, our self-talk. All those things are so important because, this voice is so powerful if we use it to our advantage, and it also can be very detrimental if we don't use it to our advantage. So
I'm curious, with the 4-minute meditation that you do, is it one of those, is this a habit that you practice every day at the same time, or like right when you wake up, or is it like, okay, I'm feeling I need this right now, I'm going to take a pause and do this for the next 4 minutes?
It was a habit big time during the pandemic, like the height of it. I don't know why it stopped. I don't have a good answer, but I find now if I'm feeling anxious, or if I'm feeling like excited or nervous, or I know I just want to level set for whatever reason, I'll do it. Sometimes usually in the morning, just because I want to use that, helps me kind of get positive. But the two other things I do is just journaling, and like daily scripture, which not a big go to church guy, but very spiritual. And sometimes I don't know what the heck the thing meant, like scripture meant, but I'm like, what does that mean? But,
I need a 2021 layman's version of the interpretation of this. Yes.
Exactly. But I find that at least sometimes if I do it, I'm like, okay, it gets my mind right. So anyway, long-winded answer. I tend to do my habitual stuff in the morning because it just helps me get my mind right for the rest of the day. Yeah.
That's really cool. I would say not until maybe the last 3 or 4 years did I recognize the importance of some of those positive habits that you can build, because self-talk, whether you're saying something negative or positive internally, and we had a conversation about this too, Casey, like when you externalize it, like when you say something negative out loud, I forget what the statistic was that we talked about, but when you say it out loud, it becomes that much more in the forefront of your mind, or that much more of a possibility of becoming true. And so making sure you're focusing on saying positive things versus negative things, it's like one of those things I heard of and I knew about, but not until the last 3 or 4 years have I really focused on. And I started doing, I guess what's defined as active visualization. So for like 10 minutes, you're just really trying to think through like, the positive things that you want in your life, the things you want to achieve. What a weird exercise, by the way, because it's created these different thoughts in my head that I feel like I've unlocked that it never crossed my mind. But anyway, just to that point.
Am I going to have to do that next, John? Because I've already followed your steps of journaling. Then I went to, what did we do? What's the
you were
hypnotherapy? We did hypnotherapy.
Yep. We did hypnotherapy.
I mean, listen, we've tried it all, man, because we're a mess.
I also made Matt drink a gallon of water a day for like a week. So I was doing this challenge where part of it is drinking a gallon, he wasn't happy with me.
No, I peed all night long. My sleep went to terror. I was so mad at him, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm not.
This is your fault. You were chugging like half the gallon at like 9 p.m. I mean,
you told me I had to drink a gallon of water. I mean, like, I can only break it out so many different ways. It was a horrible idea. Just please do not do that one.
No, so I'll tell you that stat. It's I learned this from Trevor Moawad, who unfortunately passed away. This from our Limitless Minds team. So rest in peace, Trevor. And he was speaking in one of his talks, and I want to say that stat was things we say out loud, verbalized, becomes 40 to 70% chance of it happening, potentially negative or positive. So it's kind of like as a golfer, probably going to hit it in the bunker up there. I'm probably going to slice that up in the woods, or I might top it. I mean, well, now those thoughts are in my subconscious, and your thoughts become things. You know, I think back, visualization is super important. Some of the best, most talented people in the world do visualization. Gervais talked about it. Russell Wilson does it. I remember even back to my college football days, shout out Uncle Rico moment coming here. We used to script the first 20 plays of like the plays in our for the week. So on a Tuesday, I already knew what the first play of the game was going to be on Saturday. In my mind, like trips right, 334 stretch, Z post, X top. That's a legit play. I mean, I still remember this 25 years ago. This is kind of an embarrassing moment coming here. When I would leave my apartment, drive to the stadium on Saturday, I would announce the play in third person of what was going to happen. So I was the announcer announcing the play about myself. Now, thankfully, I was in the car by myself, so it would have been really embarrassing. Like,
I wish I had a video of that. That would.
I know. But a high percent of the time, it would happen exactly how I saw it.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like life slows down. You see it like I've already completed this pass. I know exactly what the defense is going to do. I know exactly. And so a lot of times, even in business or speaking or coaching, or I tell myself like I will crush this thing. I know it's going to happen. I'm prepared. I've done everything I can to put myself in a good position of success. I can see it. I can, and next thing you know, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. You really have achieved a lot of awesome milestones. I mean, so the book, Win the Relationship, Not the Deal, which I'm kind of curious just, how that was for you writing a book. But one of the first connection points between us is Patrick Surmeyer. So shout out to Patrick, as you mentioned earlier. He was on an earlier episode of Above Board with Candor Paths called The Sentient Life. And for a really good while, I felt like I knew you, Casey, because Pat would just share things about you. He shared that book, Win the Relationship, Not the Deal, quite some time ago. And then the podcast. So, I mean, I've like, consumed information from you. I've heard you on your podcast. But you really have, it's crazy thinking about the evolution of your career. So you were a quarterback at the Harvard of the West Coast.
That's right. That's right. Well done, sir.
Yeah. I do my research. For those of you listening, that's like, what's he talking about? Central Washington University, right?
I am the only one that recognizes that the Harvard of the West Coast. So no, I don't think there's like payment due to Harvard. We're just joking.
I thought you were going to be proud of me. Like, whoa, this is like only us folks that were on the football team at this time frame know what that means. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, fast forward to now, you're a public speaker, you're a motivational speaker, you've got this awesome podcast, and you wrote this really cool book. So can you talk about that a little bit? Win the Relationship, Not the Deal. I'm just curious what that was like for you, even because Matt and I have aspirations of doing that too. So anybody who wants to write a book, what was that experience like?
Well, then what words are we going to say?
That's right. We will.
There we go. I can't wait to hear about the title. I actually wrote a book to prove that football guys can't put sentences together because I'm joking. No. I remember clear as day. I was in Dallas traveling, and I remember I was working with some younger folks who I was a more senior person in the company I worked with, and they were like so eager to please and eager to win and compete, and like I was like big brother type thing, and they were getting so like wound up about wanting to win every deal and win every person, and I said, I want you to expect to win every deal, but you're not going to win every deal. So how do we win people when we lose a deal? And they looked at me like blank stare, like, what are you talking about? And then right then it was like, we have to win relationships. If we win relationships, deals will come. But if we try to win deals, we're not going to win people. And so it was like, that's it. That's the name of the book. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I had this idea for probably 8 years or so, 7-8 years. And I never wanted to write the book when I was still at K-Force because I didn't want it to be like a conflict of interest or be distracted or use it as an excuse. Well, I can't time to. So I just didn't. I wrote like a short white paper on it that I published on LinkedIn that was really heinous. I look back now, I kind of laugh about it. And then when I left, we, great divorce. K-Force, great, left on great terms and still in touch with a lot of those folks there. I said, okay, I'm going to commit to this. And for like 4 months from 9 to 11:30, booked it in my calendar. I wrote every day. Some days I felt like Hemingway. Some days I felt like Beverly Cleary. Like some days I felt like I didn't know who I was. And it was like, I just wrote. And that was the best advice people gave me. Just write, no matter what, just write. And before I kind of did that, I created like a word map exercise. I thought about like, if I think about winning relationships, what words come to mind? So I wrote down all these words, and then I realized what words like most aligned with what they were. And then I connected those words, kind of highlighted like, okay, in Power of the Golden Rule, these are the words that come to mind. Here's some stories that might come to mind. And then I just would like write about it. And 4 months later, I had the content done. We hired an editor. She was great. However, the best editor I used, I didn't have to hire. It was my wife. And she knew my voice. And I have been told I have what's called a conversational style writing, which I don't even know what that means. And then someone asked, who trained you? And I'm like, 20 years of writing biz dev emails to trying to get meetings with executives. That's trained me. But yeah, I'm super proud of it. It's everything I thought it would be. It's everything envisioning what it would be. I know I wanted to have a book that was not too long because most salespeople are attention ADD. They want like something to scratch and sniff or a pop-up book. And it was like, that's pretty much as close as it is. It's super
lots
easy.
Of pictures.
Right.
Lots of pictures.
No, it's an easy read. I've had people read it in 3 hours on a flight. But I wrote it for 4 reasons. I wrote it for someone who's right out of school, who's trying to think about, what are some things I can think about or do from a habit perspective to go be successful. And I wrote it for someone who's stuck, so maybe north of 30, who doesn't understand why he or she's maybe off their game. I wrote it for an executive that says, man, I want to have a tool for an onboarding tool that says, hey, this guy was X, he achieved this, and these are the 6 things he really focused on, which are really common sense things that anybody can do, anybody can use to build successful relationships in life. And then the last one, I wrote it for colleges, professors who are teaching these business classes, that it's great if you know all these marketing terms and these economic terms, but if you can't relate to people from an EQ perspective and interact with people, and when finance says something mad, are you going to freak out on them, or are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt? And so for me, those are the goals. I'm patient with it, and I hope that over time it'll continue to get the word out. But I'm honored and humbled that 95 or so people have left organic reviews on Amazon, and like 5. My goal was to get to 100 reviews by the end of 2020. So hopefully, if there's 5 people listening, go leave a review on Amazon today. Help me achieve my goal.
Yes, please do. Well, again, Casey, I think one of the things that I feel really drawn to or connected to with you is you do have a genuine willingness to want to help. Like, I mean, we've had a handful of conversations. Every single one of them, I've taken information out of. Like, he didn't have to offer that. He didn't have to say that. You didn't even have to offer to come on to our show. When we talked about that, it was we were grateful that you were gracious enough to be on our show. And I think your podcast, your book, I mean, you love giving out information, helping people, right? I mean, it seems so abundantly clear. Like, win the relationship, not the deal, is the name of the book, and that's truly your focus. It's not trying to get more sales or anything like that. You love helping people.
I'm psychotically curious. Curious, and what fills my tank more than anything is connecting others, making new relationships happen, and not keeping score. So I always tell my clients, and I even tell myself, like, have a boomerang mindset. Like, just serve others. Yeah, send positive out in the world, and if it comes back, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. The thing I in this new world I'm working on being careful about is being Casey, not always. Sometimes I don't, people sometimes don't want to be coached, which is why I asked the question, John, are you open to me sharing what I think? And sometimes people are like, I don't want to get coached. I just want you to listen. And so that's one thing I'm being really present on, because I've friends saw me work 20 years in corporate, and then I was going through this kind of, hey, what's my identity now? What do I want to do, and where am I going to go? And as then when you get into this new space about author and podcaster, it's like I'm excited about it, but some people are like, I don't want to hear about that right now. So I have to be. I'm trying to be mindful about that and just try to be Casey and not Casey the coach, because I think sometimes. I think that's one thing I'm in this new journey, just focusing on that. So,
and coaching for us has been so incredibly helpful. When we started CanderPath in 2018, I think almost the first thing we did was hire a coach. And so someone who can give us that third party outside perspective. I mean, he's not coaching us on how to be a good financial advisor. He's coaching us on how to be a good business owner, and how to connect with people, and how this world is changing constantly. Video marketing has been a big area for us, and our industry is a dinosaur, right? A lot of things can't be done in the financial industry. And so we really kind of adopted that on the forefront, and it revolutionized our business, John, I guess I would say. And to this day, we still have coaching calls with our coach, David DeSalle. And sometimes it's a therapeutic, sometimes it's just therapy. I mean, sometimes he does no talking, and John and I basically just talk. And we've said before, the things that we've said are things that we would never say to each other if we're grabbing lunch or having just like a business meeting about our company. We would never say these things. But when David's present, it's like a therapy session. And for us, some of the greatest things about our company have come out during those coaching talks. Talk to us about your clients. Talk to us about the coaching practice you have. And what is it you feel is the biggest help that you can give to a business owner?
Yeah. So I always love telling people how I got into coaching. So I got to give a shout out to a guy named Andrew Moss, who I'm actually talking to this week, ironically, or serendipitously. He lives in Toronto. He's a coach. And back in 2020, I had people ask me, hey, do you coach? And I was like, yeah, my kids. And they're like, no, like businesses. And I'm like, well, I'm not really.
T-ball? Do you coach
right.
T-ball?
T-ball. I mean,
John is an expert in coaching T-ball now.
I'm going to be John's T-ball coach to coach.
We're looking for first and third base coaches. So
perfect.
Accepting resumes now.
Good. Make sure I upload it after this call. I didn't, I remember I called him because people were starting to ask me if I do this. And I was like, hey, Andrew, I'm not, what do you think I should do? I'm stuck because I'm not certified. I'm not a certified coach. And he goes, Casey, can I be honest with you? I said, yeah. He's like, no, I'm going to be really, really honest with you. I said, bro, played college football. I've thrown 4 picks in the first half, got coached hard. I've been in boardrooms. I've been on executives. I can take it. Give it to me. He's like, so what I've heard about you is you've done blah, 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 achieved all these things. I want you to get out of my mother effing face and go help people. And it was like the biggest punch in the gut face. I was like, I just stared at him. I was like,
that hurt my feelings hearing that. Did you see my face when you said that? I was like, geez, it's hard.
But it was like, why wouldn't, dude, I was a 20-year corporate guy. I have stories for days. I have mistakes for years. I have, why? Yeah, go. I wrote a book. That's my coaching. So like, it just freed me to go. And so, ironically, I have a client in my wealth management firm. They hired me. I don't know anything about wealth management, which is why I hired them, but I know a lot about relationship building. And I would agree with you that the financial space is archaic, and people aren't taught like pipeline management. People aren't taught to ask deeper questions. People love telling people what to do, but if you're always telling me what to do, it's my idea. But if you ask me great questions to realize what pain or problem I have, your idea becomes my idea because I'm now going to sell myself. I do work in the marketing space, staffing, consulting, real estate, insurance. So anything service based. And if I was to categorize or summarize the 4 areas I help people, I coach on curiosity, humility, vulnerability, and then messaging. Making sure that, and I have a framework that I got taught. It's called TED, which is absolute gold, and people can hopefully take this today. It just stands for tell me, explain, describe. It's great parenting advice. I think about like when we ask our kids, so, hey, Ryder, how was school today, buddy? Great. What'd you do? Not much. Like, those are horrendous questions. Why should I expect them to talk? Rather, tell me the hardest part about your math test that you studied for all weekend. Describe one thing that made you laugh and one thing that made you frustrated today. Now, I call those are first level TED questions, but it's that next level when they give you an answer. Tell me more about that. The times when I say, tell me more about that, take a guess, gentlemen. How many times someone said, no, I'm not telling you anything. I don't want to tell you more.
Right.
0. People love talking about themselves. And it's our job to, I feel like, in any sort of relationship building, to be genuinely curious about someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Describe why that's important to you. Explain more about that for me, right? When you really, truly learn and want to learn about people, I find that's what opens the door. So I help companies and leaders think about, I love when leaders say, oh yeah, we're very open environment, super vulnerable. I said, great. Tell me the last time in front of the entire company you've said what you're scared about or a big mistake you've made. Oh, I've not done that. I said, bro, you ain't vulnerable. That's a joke. What do you, and they get frustrated. I said, listen, you are what you allow, right? You say these things. It's kind of like, why have these core values and put them on the wall if they mean nothing, right? It's a joke. I remember my first job, my first time as a leader, like manager, a guy who I was working for me this company I was before Kforce purchases. It was called Hall Kenyon. Anyway, so they ran old school call reports. They don't know how many calls people were making a day. It just drove me nuts. I was like, just the wrong metric. And so this guy was quote unquote pounding the phone, making all these calls, like hundreds of calls, but not selling anything, not getting meetings. I'm like, something's not right. And so I finally looked at the call report. I'm like, God, who's he calling? It was the same number, and he's 3 seconds each call. Who's just calling, hanging up. I mean, to me, I was like, what a joke. And so one of our core values at Hall Kenyon was integrity. And I said, well, that's massive violation. He already was kind of not doing well. I said, well, I'm letting him go. And he's going to be sort of a gift to hopefully thank me later in life. And I told my boss, I was like, hey, I need to let this guy go. He's, whoa, what do you mean? Why are you letting him go? Because he violated core values, lied to me. He's faking calls to make us think he's doing a good job. That's not who I want on this company. We're letting him go. Well, we can't just do that. I said, then why do we have these core values? They mean nothing. Well, yeah, I guess that's a good point. And so we got HR involved, and they ended up supporting me. But I'm like, that to me is the vulnerable leadership. That's to me the thing that leaders can do. Because we don't, no matter who you are, if you let your most successful people or your worst people, you are what you allow. And so don't be surprised when environments go to junk or even back to parenting. I can't go out to dinner because my kids are animals. Well, how do you let them act like in the home? Do you let them get up and down from the dinner table when you're having dinner as a family? Well, wonder where they learn that, right? Don't allow them to do it in the house.
Of our environment,
right?
Yeah, you're so right.
So anyway, you got me on a tear and tangent there.
Well, I like that, and you had said something that I wanted to go back to. So this whole these TED questions, I've had numerous conversations, and finally I had to ask because I'd heard that from the Surmeyers. So just so you know, you can tell Patrick this next time you talk to him, that is now something that him and Anna, his wife, do with their kids because they're telling me, yeah, we were doing. They'll frame certain things and be like, that's a really good TED question, or that's a good. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, so I'm actually Googling this acronym. I'm like, are we talking about what are we talking about here? And then they said that they got that from you, and that the acronym stands for tell me, explain, and describe. So know that your influence is far reaching, my friend. You do great work.
Love it. Well, I wish I didn't. I mean, any great idea, you take someone else's idea and make it your own. So I learned this from a guy named John Kaplan. And it was just so simple. And a lot of companies need it. A lot of people need it because it's a great way to interact with people. And one of the questions that Pat and I were talking that one day when we kind of explained this is, this is the framework of, I call they say give two, take two. So tell me two things I'm doing as a dad that you like, and tell me two things I can do differently, or describe how I can be a better husband this week. Explain how I can be a better dad this week. Like, those are questions we might not want to know the answer to, but when we put ourselves out there to be quote unquote coached by our family, And not only one, you're going to get better, but two, you're going to show your kids that, hey, we got gaps. We all got gaps, and let's learn together.
But I think what I love about that, like that vulnerable question that could come from a coach, like a lot of times, I mean, I don't know. For me personally, like I'm not going to necessarily think to maybe challenge myself with that type of question unless somebody provokes that. And what that's, Matt, going back to what Matt was talking about, where we meet with our coach there. I remember there was a number of months ago, we went on the call and David, our coach, had, pinged us before, hey, what are we talking about today? This is like the day before, like, what are we talking about tomorrow? And we're just like, I don't know. We're so busy. And we'll figure it out when we get on the call. And he kind of just laid back and let us, it gave us an open platform for Matt and I, who, and David talks about communication a lot too. And Matt is my work spouse. And so just like our spouse at homes, we need to have open communication and make sure we're always on the same page. And we're huge believers, and we have an entire
cuddle a lot. Too, you got to hold him a lot of holding.
I'm a touchy-feely guy. It's my yeah.
Just keep him right here.
It's my love language. Baby Bjorns. But so we had this just open opportunity to have a lot of communication with one another. And then finally, after kind of sitting back and listening to us digest our problems and fears and everything, then David asked us a number of provoking questions. And it was these aha moments where we're like, oh man, like we never thought to look at it that way. We never thought to challenge the status quo that way. And sometimes when we really need it, he's like, guys, like you guys can complain all you want to, but like you got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and get it done. And we need to hear that sometimes too. So I just think there's such power in that. And this is coming from someone who I think, Matt and I are both like self-motivated, hardworking people. Like it's not like we're afraid to work hard, but boy, is it helpful to have that perspective, to have someone else challenge you. And anyway, so I wanted to parlay on what you said because I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think, for me, it's, you're right. Not everyone thinks to want to get better. Some people they don't want to be the one to make things happen. They want to watch others, and I think I'm blessed and thankful that I have that growth mindset where I'm going to find ways to challenge myself. But I think it goes back to shout out to my coaches in college. I don't mean to go to Uncle Rico again here on you guys, but like getting coached.
I love that reference.
Yeah. Getting coached, in front of 25, 30 of my best buddies in college, and not just to watch the good plays, but the interception 6-7 times in a row. I'm like, oh my God, I saw it, Coach Baldwin. Please stop. Casey, why'd you do this? Tell me what could you have done differently? What was your mindset here? Why is the ball on the inside shoulder? Why didn't you check out? And so this ability to realize that once you just note that we're not perfect and we're all replaceable, but if we can choose to find ways to get a little bit better each day, it's freeing. Versus sometimes people go through
curious optimist.
Oh yeah, exactly. Very curious optimist of.
Is that the name of our book? John, did we just?
Casey's not going to be happy with us if we steal that phrase, I don't think, but it might be the name of the podcast.
Watch him go on to copyright.com.
Sorry, just did it.
It's taken.
Dang it.
Trademark engine.
We'll keep looking.
Right.
I love it.
Curious optimists.
Man.
You guys will take it plural.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Casey, thanks so much for being on the show, man. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to say, Casey, where can we find you? Where can we find more information? How do we contact you? Give us a little bit of a plug on some things upcoming for you.
Yeah, I also, before I forget, I want to give a shout out to my team, my friends at Limitless Minds. I also do coaching with them as well. They're an up and coming performance mindset. We have a coaching platform. We have they do retreats at Lake, actually near your guys' neck of the woods, down Lake Nona, Performance Club. So people can learn more about me at Think Big, Go Far, which is the Limitless Minds site. You also can go to my website, just as caseyjacox.com. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the most active place on social media. And then I do obviously a ton of work on LinkedIn, but and you can, if you want to check out my book, it's on Amazon. It's print, it's Kindle, it's Audible. I actually narrated the book myself, which was a very freeing and fun process. And I think when I did that, I was the 7th or 8th time I've read the book, and I still learn from myself, which is embarrassing to say. And if I am the author learning from myself, it's more reason that people should go read it if you're in any sort of service or customer.
And you have 6 more reviews to go by the end of this year to get to your goal of 100. So anyone listen out there, go out there, buy the book, and throw over a quick review. That'd be awesome.
That'd be a great little Christmas present for me.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome, Casey. Well, again, thank you so much for being on our show. Go check out the Quarterback DadCast. We love it. And yours truly, I think I'll be on it in the coming months, potentially, if Casey, after this conversation, still wants to have us on the show. So.
No, you and I are going to get deep, brother. It's going to be fun.
I know.
And
I can't wait to listen to that one.
It's going to be...
By then, I might be a T-ball coach. I'll have a whole T-ball... I'll be like
the
league commissioner.
Not, he's going to be grilling you if you're not by that point. So you better get little Ella... Get her glove and her bat and get the ball rolling.
I'm going to go to your site, tball.com, and watch your videos.
Yeah, man. I'm going to be the league commissioner of the T-ball league.
How funny when he comes on, he's like, I had like an illustrious T-ball career. This is my Uncle Rico moment of, I was really into T-ball when I was like 17 years old.
He's got like huge following on YouTube, and he's just gone big. He leaves the company. You're now by yourself, Matt. And I'm the one to be blamed for it.
I mean, you can't get more niched down than that. People here always talk about their niche. Like I'm a T-ball player. That's my niche, an adult T-ball player. All right, Casey. Thanks again, man. It was great having you.
That's
Curious, optimist, and appreciate you having on the show.
Thanks.
See you, man.
Yep.